So many physical friends will come to a gathering like this because we have convinced many of you that we are infinite intelligence. We stand in the vortex. We know who you really are. We know who you were before you were born. We know who you've become as you've been asking and asking and asking. And we stand holding the light, calling you into vibrational alignment with who you are. And what so many physical friends are doing is they'll say, okay, I'll play this silly game. I'll learn about the vortex and I'll practice vibrational frequencies and I'll pay attention to my emotions so that my manifestations will please me. And we want to say to you, if you could just let go of doing it for the manifestation, and instead you could do it for the joy of being in the vortex, you'll be joyful every day forevermore. And the manifestations must follow. They will follow. But we hardly even want to tell that to you. Because if we say, get in the vortex for the joy of it, and you begin to catch the drift of that. In other words, you get hooked on clarity. You get hooked on good timing. You get hooked on that humor as you dance with the fairies of the universe. You get hooked on that feeling of vitality and that feeling of understanding and knowledge. You get hooked on that feeling of love. You get hooked on that feeling of passion for life. You get so hooked on that the physical stuff really takes a back seat. But if you don't get hooked on that, if you say, oh, well, I'll do all of that so that I can have the manifestations, because it's really the manifestations that ring my bells, because if I don't manifest that car, my neighbors can't see it. And driving that car, Abraham, driving that car, please tell me, Abraham, driving that car is better than dreaming it. Not really. Not really. We want you to get over that. Because when you dream it, it always has gas in it. When you dream it, it never breaks down. When you dream it, it always smells real good. When you dream it, it performs at its optimum all the time. Once it becomes a reality, you got to take it in for service. Now, think about that. That's really the point that we're making. And we want you to take your car into service. We're not trying to get you, we're not trying to get you to come to the vortex with us, because if you did that, you'd all have to croak today. And that isn't what we're talking about. We're not trying to get you to permanently come to the vortex. What we are wanting you to understand is that it's sweet feeling life in this real-time vortex. And if you will orient yourself to wanting to be there often, if you will pay attention to when you are there and when you're not there, and if you will do 100% of your creating, of your deliberate creating, 100% of your affirming, 100% of your planning from inside the vortex, things are going to turn around so quickly. People who are watching you are going to be astonished at how remarkably fast things that they know you've been wanting begin to show up in your physical experience. Before any of this makes sense, we have to help you to understand that you are vibration, and our knowing it does not necessarily mean that you know it. But we're going to offer a lot to convince you of that here today, because it is so important that you understand that while you see all of this wonderful manifestation around you with your eyes and hear it with your ears and so on, while your physical senses help you to interpret all of that, you have emotions that are the most sophisticated and most important vibrational interpreters, because your emotions let you know your, in your physical body, vibrational relationship or proximity. In other words, you're allowing or disallowing, you're allowing or resisting of who you really are. You were source energy before you came into this body, and even though you're in this body, you are still source energy, mostly. The non-physical part of you that you call source, we call inner being, that part of you is eternal and still non-physically focused, not manifested like you. So this non-physical part of you is offering a vibration. And what we want you to know is that vibration is a pure, resistance-free vibration as far as you are concerned. There is contrast in everything, but from your physical point of view, you would not be able to discern the vibrational difference in the frequency of the inner being that is you, or in that which humans want to call God. That frequency is resistant-free. It is pure love. There is not even a particle of hate or annoyance or irritation in that vibration. It's pure love. So when you understand that that's who you really are, and that before your birth, that's all that you were, then when you came forth into this physical body, a part of that consciousness came into the body that you know as you. And at that moment, there became the potential for two vibrational vantage points. The source energy point, which is always pure positive energy, no resistance, and you in your human physical body, which is about whatever you're giving your attention to. If you have been watching CNN and you're all guarded and worried about stuff, and if you've been watching CNN, you are, then you're offering a frequency, and probably a pretty steady, chronic, practiced one that we could even call a belief, because a belief is just a thought you keep thinking. If you've been doing that, if you've been observing your physical environment and you are pushing against unwanted things, then you have a frequency going on in your physical body that does not match the frequency of that of your source, and that means you've introduced, through your conscious awareness, resistance to the mix of vibration between you and you. And when you do that, your emotions give you feedback that help you to know that. That's what fear is. Fear is a really strong indicator that you've really got a resistant thought going on that is not meshing with the non-resistant thought of the source within you. When you feel love, you're in alignment, no resistance. When you feel hate, way out of alignment. When you feel sure, you're in alignment. When you feel tentative or unsure, out of alignment. When you're confused, not in alignment. When you're clear-minded, in alignment. In other words, you can tell by the emotion that you are feeling how in sync or not you are in the moment of the emotion. What happens with a lot of our physical human friends is that you become accustomed to the feelings of misalignment, to the feelings of resistance. It just becomes normal to be overwhelmed, or normal to feel ornery, or normal to feel unworthy. And so, or even normal to feel fearful or worried about things. So as you allow yourself to practice those thoughts until they feel normal, what happens to you is you begin to ignore this magnificent guidance system that is there for you to help you to tune your frequencies into alignment with who you really are. But it's more important than just tuning up with that which is source. It's tuning up with all that you have become. That's the most important thing that we want to help you to understand here today. We want you to really leave here understanding that you were source energy before you came into this body, and that source energy part of you still exists. And when you bang around sifting through the contrast of your time-space reality, just like you knew you would, just like you planned to do, just like the source within you wants you to do, when you explore all of that variety, knowing what you don't want, which helps you to know what you do want, you are offering these improved requests, these askings for improved experience. When someone's rude to you, you want them to be nicer. When the oil is spewing into the ocean in the Gulf, you want it to return to its natural state of biological balance. In other words, when you know what you don't want, you know what you do want, whether you say it out loud or not. So we want you to understand that all day, every day, you and every consciousness, which includes all the cells in your body, it includes all one cell's organisms, it includes everything that exists in physical form, because everything is consciousness. Every particle of consciousness is having a personal experience where, from its personal perspective, it is exploring and asking for improvement. That's what the evolution of all species is about. So when you know what you don't want, you know what you do want, whether you put words to it or not. And here's the part that we so want you to embrace and understand. When that rocket emanates from you, that asking, The source within you, that non-physical part of you, immediately becomes the vibrational equivalent of that new request. So you just keep asking and evolving, asking and evolving. Now this is the part that most humans don't remember, but it's the part that when you do remember, everything starts clicking quickly into place for you. Because you are constantly expanding this vibrational part of you. That means there is constant emotional feedback letting you know whether you in your physical human form are keeping up with the expansion or not. If you are sick in your physical body and you ask to be well, and you do, you ask it more when you are sick than at any other time, the non-physical part of you becomes more well than ever before, and particularly pointed to the specific asking for the specific recovery from the specific illness that you are specifically living. In other words, when you live something, you ask more specifically for the improvement, and the source within you becomes it. Have you ever been in an argument with someone who also was sure they were right? And even though you were really sure you were right, they were also sure they were right. And the more the conversation ensues, the more you dig into your position, and you walk away, neither one of you convinced, each believing more firmly. So what we are saying to you is, in this attitude of trying to find the solution while the problem is really active, if you have a financial problem really active, in other words, if this is the moment that you've been worrying, if you've been worrying and something's just happened, and your sense of not having enough money is really strong within you, that's the last moment in time for you to sit with affirmation cards that are just going to make you choose the opposing position. You see what we're getting at? But if you find yourself in your vortex, and we'll talk about that. You're in your vortex every day, several times, and you don't even know that you are. You know that moment when your heart just sings just for a moment before you catch yourself and remember how bad things are? If you will be aware to the fact that you're in the vortex, and you will do all of your affirming from inside the vortex, because when you're in the vortex, when you've awakened, you've had a good night's sleep, you're feeling good, the sun is shining, it's a beautiful day, everything is well in your world, and you then take the time to sit and affirm. These words sound sweet, these words feel good, but more important, these words help you practice the vibration that will allow the abundance that you want. This is the thing that we want you to hear. Whatever you are giving your attention to is causing you to offer a vibration, and the more you do it, the more you are likely to do it. It's like exercising a muscle. So if you're doing all of your trying to make things better from outside the vortex, you're just getting more and more dug in to what isn't working. Where if you wait until you're in the vortex, you wait until your heart is singing, and that's when you affirm, that's when you ponder, that's when you script, that's when you imagine, that's when you think on purpose, milk it a little more, milk it a little more, milk it a little more. Try to preserve the vibration of being in the vortex, that lighthearted, good feeling, loving feeling of being in the vortex. Sometimes Jerry and Esther will get into such a wonderful mode for whatever reason, and they'll just milk it. Anyone who was watching them from outside the vortex would throw up. They just wouldn't be able to take it. They wouldn't be able to stand this deliberate, intentional staying in this vibration of well-being. But we want you to know that that is the secret to deliberate creation. To do your creating from inside the vortex. To be aware first that you are a vibrational being. Next, that you have two vibrational vantage points. Next, that your emotions, the way you feel, let you know whether you're in the vortex or not, whether you're moving toward it or moving away from it. And then finally, doing all of your deliberate intending, all of your contemplating. If we were standing in your physical shoes, we would counsel our children 100% of the time from inside the vortex. We would make 100% of our airline reservations or our breakfast reservations from inside the vortex. We would make sure that we are in the vortex before we would set anything into motion at all. Because the things you set into motion when you're not in the vortex will play out in just that way. It's a wonderful thing when you begin to feel consciously and exercise deliberately the power of your alignment with who you are. It is such a wonderful thing to be an in the vortex mentor, an in the vortex parent, an in the vortex grandparent, an in the vortex employer, an in the vortex friend, an in the vortex lover. Oh, an in the vortex lover, an in the vortex lover. There is no love so sweet as an in the vortex lover, you see. You just got to accept that you are vibrational beings. What do you want to talk about? Stuff.